Ladies and gentlemen, it just seems like as we move along with the Tyree Nichols case, it just seems like this whole thing with this Scorpion unit is just turning into a complete nightmare. Now, the prosecutor said they will review all cases of the ex officers charged in Tyree Nichols' death. Apparently, there are more people coming forward that had interactions with these officers, and they beat up an awful lot of people, y'all. When Tyree Nichols' case first broke, they did a press conference. It was his parents, Ben Crump, and on the stage with them was a 60-year-old man that lived in that same neighborhood that Tyree and his parents lived in. He said those cops did that to him. They jumped on him, they beat him up, and he said the whole time they were beating him, they were accusing him of being on drugs. And this man said he didn't do drugs. Now, he didn't speak. Ben Crump spoke at the podium about his incident. And I think it was either a few months or a year before Tyree Nichols. So they had a reputation of going around beating up on people. Anytime somebody's going to beat up on you like a wild savage, trust me, they have done this probably hundreds of times. Don't be surprised by the time their trial comes up, you're going to hear about hundreds of cases where they have violated people and folks were just too afraid to do something. Because sometimes people get scared. They're afraid of retaliation. So they'll just go on with their life and never really deal with this whole thing. So I actually think it's a good thing that the prosecutor is going through all of their cases and people they interacted with. Tyree Nichols' death is putting Memphis police under scrutiny in more than one way, as Tennessee prosecutors say they will conduct a review of all the cases handled by the five former officers. And we know they have since been charged. The Shelby County District Attorney's Office confirmed in an email to NPR that it will review closed and pending cases connected to Demetrius Haley, Desmond Mills Jr., Emmett Martin III, Justin Smith, and Tadarius Bean, who have all been fired and charged with second-degree murder. This is still an active and ongoing investigation, the office said, without elaborating on specifics. The former officers have been added to the county list of law enforcement officers whose credibility has been questioned, the DA office confirmed. Four of the officers had prior violations at work, as NPR has reported, but all but Bean had been reprimanded or suspended in recent years, either for failure to report the use of physical force, failure to report a domestic dispute, for damages sustained to their squad cruisers, according to the Memphis police files. So they were out there doing all kinds of things and just excluding it when the police report was written. So it made it, what that does? If they exclude their actions, then it makes it look like the victim was the one that was perpetrating all of the aggression. That's why they were excluding whatever they did out in public and just writing what the defendant did in this case. Oh no, they were the violent one. I didn't do anything. They were the one violent. So twisted here, for real. Okay, so the officers worked for a controversial special unit known as Scorpion, which the city has disbanded in wake of Nichols' death. It made 566 arrests between October 2021 and January of 2022. Memphis Mayor Tim Strickland said last year. City residents have since come forward to share their experiences with other aggressive encounters with the unit, including a 22-year-old. And I know y'all have heard of Montarius Harris, who filed a federal lawsuit this week suing the city and those five police officers for allegedly beating him without a cause just 3 days before they pulled over Nichols. Mm-mm. So the body camera footage of the brutal incident released last month cast a spotlight on the city's law enforcement practices and renewed calls for police reform nationwide. No, we need a crime bill. We need a crime bill, and you need to get qualified immunity away from these cops. But this system is so wicked. They're not about to do the right thing, y'all. They're just not. You know, they know what's wrong and they know what would remedy the situation, but because we're the ones asking for it, they don't want to do it. So, other first responders have been fired or suspended in the week since Nichols' death. The police department announced that six police officers have been fired, a seventh relieved of duty, while the fire department fired two EMTs and a lieutenant after an internal review. So the officials said Tuesday as many as 13 police officers could end up being disciplined. That's an awful lot of people to be at the scene when Tyree Nichols died. 13 police officers? Wow. And my question is, why do so many officers got to show up over a traffic stop? Why was it necessary for 13 officers to be at that scene? It just looks weak. This is just one man. 13 officers? To me, that's a waste of taxpayer money. New documents released this week shed light on the alleged misconduct of the five officers charged in Nichols' death, including an allegation that Haley took photos of Nichols as he laid bleeding against a police car. It's reported that he shared those images with officers and a non police officer. So, I mean, you don't know the purpose of why he sent those photos until he tells why. You really don't know why. He sent it to five people. It's not like he sent it to just one person. Then you may wonder, okay, why did he send it to just one person? He sent it to five people. New documents released this week shed light on the alleged misconduct. So, mm, mm, mm. NPR Martin Case told All Things Considered that the documents, which pertain the department's internal review, paint a picture of the officers with a very unprofessional attitude. Yeah, because just from what I'm seeing, these officers were not only physically aggressive, they would be cussing and carrying on at people as well. I don't know. Maybe their heads got swollen because they were in some special unit. I don't know. Does that inflate the ego? And maybe it does. Maybe it does for them. Investigators say the officers broke department rules by using excessive force against Nichols and failing to report it, among other things. They also said the officers took off their body cameras and that several were laughing and bragging about the encounter immediately after. That is disgusting. Y'all beat the life out of a human being and you stood and laughed about it? That's not funny. But you know what, y'all? This ain't the first time we've heard stories about officers beating or even killing a black man and then just laughing about it. They think it was a joke. Look, remember Mike Brown? They did that with Mike Brown. Remember, they even made up some Mike Brown story, some Mike Brown song. It was some old corny ass song anyway, but they made up some song. But Black Death is always mocked up in here because this place is just pure evil. So anyway, um, so what they're saying is, in addition to putting the officers in other cases up for review, county officials put their names on a so-called list of police officials accused of being dishonest and facing criminal charges. That classification could prompt prosecutors to drop any case involving their testimony. This is according to the New York Times. And I hope they do. I hope all of those cases get dropped. Adding that some defense attorneys are compiling a roster of all officers who served in the Scorpion unit, which could imperil hundreds of cases across the city. Good. Then you need to let all of these people go. I don't know, but America seems to accept illegal activity from cops. You know, if you are a monster, you like to hurt people, you like to be physical with people, join the police force in America. Your ass is psychotic. Join the police force. They would love to take you. They love people like that on the police force. The more nuttier you are, the better. Okay, so local defense attorney Brandon Hall told Memphis paper that the commercial appeal that he was in court Wednesday and saw a prosecutor drop a case involving the officers in question and expects a similar outcome in other cases. Another defense attorney and former Shelby County prosecutor Josh Corman told the papers that prosecutors have been reviewing cases connected to the five officers and that he thinks it would be a nightmare for any prosecutor to use them as a witness. Meanwhile, the Memphis branch of the NAACP is praising the DA's office for taking the step of reviewing the officers' old cases. Vicky Terry, the executive director of the NAACP Memphis branch, told Memphis TV station WREG that her office received several police related complaints after Nichols' death, though she didn't specify whether they were about those specific officers or the Scorpion unit. That she said that they displayed no integrity, so it makes me afraid that others have been treated this way, she said. If they go back and find out somebody might have been convicted for something that they didn't do, you're definitely going to have to reopen cases. So there you go. I think they should be reopened too. You can't trust anything these cops handled when they were out there working as cops. You can't trust nothing from them. But y'all, please tell me what you think about this video. Please leave your comment and subscribe. Don't forget to hit on the notification bell, and I'll see you on the next video. Peace, family.